A good evening, everyone. It's not like, how many times do we do this live stream every Tuesday? Every Tuesday. But anyway, let's just get right into it. As you can see, uh, hey, Voodoo. So I've changed streaming again because Streamlabs Desktop pissed me off for the last time when they kept dropping the collab cam. And I said, why am I paying for something that's not stable that I have to fight with every week? So we went to Discord and we're just sharing the screen and doing all that hootie ha nonsense. So that's the way we're going to do it for now, unless something else comes along that's as good as Skype that doesn't cause a bunch of headaches. This is what we're doing. But before I go any further, first of all, let me get this started. We shall start the recording and we will proceed with the Freedom Talk. I apologize. Technical difficulties again. This thing threw me for a loop. So I have to go through and correct a few things, and we should be, hopefully, good to go. Maybe. We'll see if we get it. Hey, I think we actually got it. Look at that. Let me make sure everything's looking good. We look good there. I am actually going to start the recording now and not be a moron. So here we go.
The Constitution isn't just a document. It's a blueprint for freedom. We're breaking down politics at every level, exposing government overreach, and going where the mainstream media surely won't. Join us in defending individual rights against the bureaucratic tide. You're listening to the Missouri Liberty Report.
All right, folks, and we are back with another fantastic edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Thanks to all of you out there in podcast land, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, wherever you're hearing this show. If you're watching it right now, we appreciate each and every single one of you folks who continuously, support us. And, of course, I can't forget about MOLibertyRadio.us, also highly important to this program, seeing as how they were the originators of carrying this show and had enough faith in me not to screw the pooch. But all right, well, before I go off on some weird tangent about screwing things up, this is just kind of a free-for-all show, and I have to be honest, folks, I enjoy. Sometimes it's nice just to air our grievances about the feds and government and everything else, and not have like a plan, a so-called plan. Just whatever comes to mind. Well, not whatever. Generally, politically, whatever comes to mind, we'll talk about it. We're not going to talk about whatever, because that could get us kicked off the radio, and I don't need that negativity in my life right now. So anyway, I want to air my grievances on one thing first, okay? It is we are in the very last stages of the Missouri legislative session, right? We are right there. And I'm seeing stuff from grassroots organizations that are really starting to irritate me. And it's because now there's legislation that they don't like, right? They don't like certain legislation. So what they're doing is they're saying, oh, well, we're going to call this bill out because of Article 3, Section 23. It's unconstitutional. I'm like, not that they're wrong, But when a amended bill has language in there that they've really been pushing for, then suddenly there's crickets. Therein lies my issue. It's like, okay, I get it. But I just, let's be consistent when we're calling out, some piece of legislation. Can we be at least consistent in the voicing of our disapproval of unconstitutional bills? That's all. Because I've seen many things pass through this legislature proclaimed as a win. Nothing about violating Article 3, Section 21, Article 3, Section 23, or any other part of the Constitution, right? Nothing. But if it's legislation they don't want to see passed, then suddenly the whole thing gets turned around. That irritates me to no end. It's like, come on. Let's be realistic. Let's stay consistent. And if we're going to demand a constitutional bill, then demand it of all of them. I'm being honest here, folks. I don't care if it's gold and silver. I don't care if it's a SEPA bill. I don't care what bill it is. I want the most constitutionally sound legislation passing through the chambers to the governor's desk. Not, I'm going to take this bill and lump it on this because it's financial institutions. Gold and silver had nothing to do with financial institutions. And all I'm asking for is that these people who love to proclaim how they're constitutional conservatives kind of flop back and forth. Well, they flip-flop back and forth on when they want to throw a fit about a certain piece of legislation, and just when it doesn't suit their personal agenda or their belief system or whatever. But then if there's one section of a bill that they're like, oh yes, we need this will give us back some liberty, then they will back an unconstitutional bill, which generally in there somewhere you could lose. You might gain a little liberty in this area, right? We move over here and then you lose liberty. So it's a net zero. You did nothing to move the needle towards liberty. And that really bugs me. Again, I don't know how many times we've mentioned on the show, people ask, well, how do we get here? I know exactly how we got here. We got here by doing what they've been doing. They're doing it again this session. And then people are very selective about when they want to appeal to their membership or whatever about something being, a liberal thing, or if it's the other side of the aisle, Republican thing, or it's it's unconstitutional now. It's like you all, the threat should always loom large. If you back a bill that is amended to something else and it passes through and the governor signs it into law, I think you should be at risk of somebody taking all those bills to court and saying, hey, this one violates this. This violates this article and section. This violates this article and section. And you just ram it down the court's throats. And the court's like, okay, guys, everybody over there in that building needs to calm down. Can you guys write some constitutional bills so they quit, filing suits against your legislation? So it's just a thing that has been bugging me as I get on social media pages and I see these posts. It really starts pulling on my last nerve some days to see this. I don't understand it. But yeah, I just wanted to air my grievance on that a little bit, on that topic.
Sure. Well, to add to it, I've got legiscore.us pulled up here, and I'm looking at the 2025, the current statistics for all of the bills that our friends at the Lock and Smith Foundation have analyzed. So far, they've reviewed 29 bills on their website and have objected to 21 of them, which means that the collective score for all of the constitutional legislative this is just what they've been able to review, is 31%. And specifically, Article 21 and 23, Article 3, Section 21 and 23, violations of the Constitution, just going by number here, we've got HB 87, HB 126, 138, 145, 147, 176, 177, 200, 202, 207, I'm at 223. How many have I listed? I mean, 10 already.
Yeah.
So if you're concerned, like if your big push is that these violate articles of the Constitution, so we can't support them, then there's a lot of bills that you've probably supported that you're gonna have to look back on and go, oh, maybe these also violate articles, Article 3, Section 21 and 23 of the Constitution also. Like you said, you can be for or against something for like a philosophical reason or a moral reason, but you can't use the Constitution for bills that you don't like and then just completely ignore it for bills that you do like. I mean, that's hypocrisy at its purest. And so, yeah, you have every right to be frustrated with this hypocrisy, especially because those are the constitutional freedom groups. Like, those are the ones that we need advocating for constitutional bills. And so if they're not doing it, if they're willing to look one way for bills they like, but crack down constitutionally on bills they don't like, it's, like I said, it's hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's as I've, continued down this road of, being in part of groups or going and working legislation or whatever at the Capitol. And I enjoyed all the people that I hung out with. I really liked them all. Generally just a lot of good people. It just, sometimes I find the group thing kind of kicks into gear, right? And I feel like no matter what your group is focused on, right? Let's say it's not even something political, but I feel that sometime this dynamic takes over of people afraid to voice their dissent about something that might be popular in a group. Like, those people just don't say anything, right? Or maybe they just like quietly just move out of the group and go off and do their own thing. And everybody's like, oh, what happened to so-and-so? Well, they didn't want to go, they're afraid to speak against the majority of the group. And this happens in all kinds of organizations. I'm not strictly picking on like conservative grassroots movements. This happens in all facets of life. This can happen in the office. It can happen on the shop floor. It can happen in a political organization. It can happen in churches, everywhere. Anything where there's a group of people who are working together to get something done. At some point you see this. It's not a push, but something, like we should support this, and other people are like, well, I think this is more important. We should support this. But the majority of the group's like, we'll work on that some other time. And those people just, instead of maybe saying why they disagree, it's like they're afraid someone's going to get onto them. It's like sometimes it's a bunch of children. Now, the group that I was a part of was not a bunch of children, okay? Like, the people that I hung out with from the Missouri Freedom Initiative were generally not a bunch of children, right? They were all adults. They handled themselves pretty well. And again, you go hang out with the Capitol, you don't like, there's not one person in the group you're like, why did they have to show up? Like, I didn't feel that way. I genuinely had a good time, especially Gary Ridenhour and I. We just hung together all day and just shot the breeze and joked around, but it still happens. And even with the best of intentions of a group, so it sucks so bad. Not all groups, but a lot of groups have people who will rise to the top. And once they get there, it's like it's their way or the highway. And the individuality of the people in a group kind of gets left by the wayside. And it becomes more of, well, these people are supposedly the most knowledgeable, so we're going to just go with what they say. But again, if you have people at the top who are okay because of certain one piece of legislation clamped into 5 other bills, and you have a you just have an unconstitutional bill, you have an omnibus bill, but because there's something in there they like, they're like, all right, we're going to back this. But again, then turn around 2 weeks later, another piece of legislation. This one, it's I don't remember it was something SB 57 or something, but they were up in arms about it. And it's like, this violates Article 3, Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution. And I'm like, okay, I get that. It does. It was mandating stuff that the government has no business mandating. But it didn't. Again, they're quiet on other fronts. And it just irritates. It just really chaps my butt when this happens. Because until I fully believe, until we get the grassroots that generally push freedom-oriented legislation, until those people get it together and say, all right, from now on, if a bill's unconstitutional, no matter if it's something we like or not, we have to speak out against it. Until those groups fully put themselves into that mindset and push that as the foremost important thing, I think that we're not gonna get the good things done that we should get done, and that is either blocking purely horrible legislation or passing constitutional bills that get back some liberty, but we get a net positive. Every year, we're getting net negatives. We're going in the wrong direction. Taxation, putting stuff in the Constitution that doesn't belong there, which restricts the behavior of the people. I mean, we're just coming up net negative all the time, and it sucks. I hate it. I hate it so freaking much because I wish that we could, again, I wish we could address this, get people to fully understand that if we want liberty back, and we truly want it back in the right way, you have to do it constitutionally. Because I think you're just setting a bad precedent for people that follow behind you. I think you set a bad precedent for other people who may want to start their own organization, and they see this and they're like, this seems like a winning formula, and they mimic that. Now you've got a whole boatload more people out there who have a misunderstanding or who are not educated in the way things are supposed to go in that building. And I have no business running an organization. Okay, that would be, you'd have to call the National Transportation Safety Board because it's going to be a train wreck. All right, I don't have that ability. I don't
call Pete Buttigieg. It's a train wreck.
Yeah, call what they call him, Booty Judge. We're gonna call Booty Judge in because there's a train wreck. But yeah, I have no business, again, leading an organization of anything. I can barely keep myself organized. But there are some genuinely good, talented, smart people out there. This is my opinion now, folks. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. I'm just giving you my take. But to me, if they want me and some other like-minded folks to take them more seriously, then the consistency has to be there. Now, a lot of people may not even notice that. Honestly, I don't think they do. They just see that these people who have kind of been given this mantle of, well, they're our leaders for this legislation type stuff, right? And we trust these people. So we're just going to do what they say. It goes unnoticed. It's you got to have a friend like Tom Martz, right? You got to have a friend like Tom Martz, and you got to have friends like Catherine Dreyer. One knows the money side real well, and one knows the Constitution side real well. That's the kind of allies that you got to have I think, and I might be a little biased because I consider Tom and Catherine friends. You got to have friends like Tom and Catherine, because Tom is not going to BS you. Catherine is not going to BS you. She's not going to tell you something because you want to hear it. She's going to tell you because it's the truth. And there's no other agenda but the truth. That's the kind of people that I want to help guide me along as I try to figure this stuff out, because I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, and sometimes I struggle with this stuff. So I have to text Tom, give Tom, and generally by the end, within, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it might be a couple hours, Tom is texting me back to, tell me why it is the way it is, or his thoughts on it. And I can do the same thing with Catherine. I can say, hey, Catherine, what was the name of that PAC that did this and that? And she'd pull out some notes and go, it was this one. And then she'd be like, it was ran by this person, and they did this, and she'd be able to run it all down. And then I'd go, oh, thank God I hang out with people that are smarter than me. So, again, just wanted to throw that out there because Missouri is going in I guess this is the only way to put it. Missouri's going in the wrong direction. We are going the opposite direction where we're supposed to be going. And we have some good people out there trying to do good things. I just want to preach consistency, and that's just me being a armchair quarterback, I guess you could say. But I don't run an organization. I have no business running an organization. So I will just throw out my thoughts and my opinions to lead these groups in a better direction and educate the people better on constitutional government.
No, I mean, like again, you can't use the Constitution as your reason to not support a bill, but then also support a bunch of bills that are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
You just can't have it both ways. Yeah. And like you said, we really do need, because the corrupt forces in politics and in Missouri, they have money. And so they're spending lots of money to make sure that their people are in the right places, that their message is getting out more effectively than those who want freedom and those who are trying to crack down on corruption. And so you really gotta stay focused when it's an uphill battle all the time. So if you're inconsistent with your reasoning and your logic, then you're not giving, people the incentive to go to you because you're trustworthy. You're wishy-washy, and you're going to seem like you have an agenda and not fighting for constitutionality and freedom. But there is a bill. I wish I could find the name of it. Do you want me to send you this Missouri Independent article really quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll read you the title really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll send it to you on X. It says Missouri House passes wide-ranging education bill as session enters its home stretch. This is from Annalise Hanshaw on May 6, 2025. And it says that the Missouri House passed a higher education bill loaded up with amendments. Loaded up, I say, John, with amendments on a 94-36 vote Monday evening, advancing largely bipartisan proposals as the end of session nears. The bill heads back to the Senate, where lawmakers can either send it to the governor, blah, blah, blah. So the legislation passed the Senate. I wish I could figure out what the name of this legislation is, because that sidebar, real quick, side note, it drives me crazy when you're reading bills in the House, like when you're reading an article about a bill in the House, and you can't find the bill number. It's not in the article, and I'm not smart enough to come up with a good enough search to find it. So then I'm just always wondering what the name of the bill is or where to find it, and it never says. But the House Emerging Issues Committee, whose Democratic members voiced concerns about the underlying bill, again, so House Democrats in the Emerging Issues Committee, the Democratic members voiced concerns about the bill. So what do you think you would do naturally if you were concerned about a bill? You would vote against it. right? No. They added other higher education legislation and anti-discrimination provisions. So Monday, the House approved 10 additional amendments, such as a proposal that would grant in-state tuition to active duty military from out of state serving in Missouri. So if you were stationed in Missouri as active military, then we would give you in-state tuition. Okay. But another piece added in committee led to a heated debate Monday about how to define anti-Semitism. The legislation includes a piece that would require higher education institutions to monitor for anti-Semitic incidents. So, freeze right there. Violation of Article 3, Section 21 of the Constitution, right there. Or is it 23? Maybe both.
It's more than likely it's both.
Yeah, if they didn't change the title of the bill.
Yeah.
Or if even if they changed it, but if it includes multiple subjects and then they changed the title based on the amendments, still a violation. So, it's not getting any better. The Democrats are like, we don't like this bill, so what are we going to do? We're going to add 10 amendments to it to make it a bill that we can swallow. Let's not vote down the bill we don't like. Let's add 10 more amendments. So then the article goes on to talk about how the definition in the bill refers to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism and its examples. The problem is, again, I haven't read the bill, so I don't know for sure, but critics are worried that the bill would bar criticism of the Israeli government, which is just so... I hate that. I hate the censorship part of this so much. It's a foreign government. It doesn't make you anti-Semitic to not like a foreign government and the actions of a foreign government. So, just more craziness. And then other proposals in the House include a provision that would require Missouri's public universities to coordinate on transferable 60 credit hour degree programs in 5 areas of study. Also would give the Missouri State University would also be able to offer an undergraduate degree in veterinary technology and doctorates of philosophy other than in engineering. So that led me to something I stumbled upon in this article that I did not know about. It was that the state of Missouri grants the University of Missouri the ability to offer research doctorates degrees, research masters and doctorates degrees. So the government is the only one who can issue the ability to have a doctorate, and the University of Missouri has a monopoly on it. Until, apparently now they're working to get Missouri State that opportunity. But when I heard that actually just blew my mind. I was like, no way that the state can just decide. Because, what if I wanted to offer a doctorate in something? You would just have to, it would be on the free market to determine if my doctorate or master's was worth it, right? Wouldn't that be determined by, an employer? Yeah. I don't know. The whole bill, the whole article and the whole bill from top to bottom was just staggering. How just all the different pieces of bad Missouri legislature, all of the different examples of it, basically confined into one bill.
God dang it. So I know that I think this ties back to, you have the NIH, you've got the CDC, you've got and the NIH, all money flows through that goes to the grants for research. And I think this is just a control arm of that. So if they dictate who can do the research masterates or masters or research doctorates or what, it's like a control of information, right? And then you can narrow that field down to certain people, and they're going to play ball, right? If they want the money, they're going to do certain things. They're going to be taught a certain way. They're going to research a different way. They're going to write their papers a certain way. I think it's just a way of just condensing everybody and putting them all in a mold like we see in journalism and all this other stuff, right? People go to school for journalism. They go to college for journalism. And they come out, and all they are is parrots for the administration, or parrots for this, or parrots for that. Their only thing they can do is parrot other things they've been told. And what does Tom Woods call it? The 3x5 card of allowable opinion. That's what they're handed. They're just like, here you go. And you're like, wow, really? Okay. But they just go. They just do it. They just like, yeah, we're on board. I just want to be in front of a television camera every night telling the American people what we want them to know, right? And it's a horrible thing. But yes, you have that with media. You have that with medicine, right? Because pre-AMA, people would just study to be a doctor. Now, I'm not saying that medicine was really advanced back then, and we'd have some kooky things going around as far as medicines go, but things were more, there was more natural remedies back there because they didn't have the technology and all the stuff that we have now. But there were doctors everywhere. You get the AMA, it shrinks it down. They condense them down. When I interviewed Dr. Oh my God, what's his name? He was a doctor from Indiana. He was running for Congress. Very constitutional guy. And I asked him on the show one time, what's the difference in medical school today compared to when he went through? And he said when he was in med school, you were taught to treat on an individual basis, and now they are teaching public health. Right? So you just go to a book, look at the symptoms and go, "Oh, it must be that." And you move on. And it's just, to me, all this stuff, if a government body is going to say a college can only teach, this college is the only one allowed to give out masters for this program, all you're doing is, to me, somebody's controlling the flow of information, because that's not in the marketplace of ideas, right? There's a chance it's filtered. The curriculum's filtered. It's hard to say what it is. But what the heck why does government have to say only this school can hand out masters in this? It's like, point on this doll where a different college teaching master's programs and research hurt you. Like, point on the doll. I got to get a doll to hold up every show and go, all right, folks, point on, show me on the doll where, having freedom hurt you. Did it hurt your heart? Did it hurt your head? But again, I ask the same question. Why does it hurt that other colleges might be able to teach and give out masters in the same thing? I guess Mizzou would do it because if they're the money, federal, student loans flow to them. The money from the students flow to them. They've got a double cash cow waiting, and they're it in Missouri. So yeah, it must be great to be Mizzou and have all that. Apparently, a very large lobbyist appeal to them to be able to do this and just kind of dust themselves off afterwards and be like, hey, you go looking for dirt on them, you're like, we're clean. Look at this. Look at my shirt, spotless. Skin is spotless. My hair is unflawed. Clothes are pristine. You're like, yeah, you just fell out of a pile of manure. They're like, it wasn't me. That was some other dude. They're like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. I don't know. This whole thing baffles me. People get irritated when you say, sometimes, some people get irritated when you say that newer generations are weak, or, they can't take stuff, they can't take criticism, or this triggers them or that triggers them and all this stuff. But it seems like the colleges get triggered because somebody else might offer a program that's competitive. And it seems like they get triggered pretty easy, and they get butthurt if they say, well, you can't be just the only ones. You have to allow more people to do this. And then it's like they start wailing and gnashing their teeth and stomping their hankies and wringing their hands. And you're like, it's education. Jesus, Mizzou's not the only college in the United States. It'd be different if there's 10 states around Missouri, and that was the only college. And you're like, oh, well, of course they have the only master's program because they're only freaking university within 10 states. But how many colleges
not
are in
to
Missouri?
mention-
Jesus.
Well, there's University of Central Missouri, Missouri State, Truman State. I mean, there's a bunch of different universities. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 Lindenwood University, and you're telling me that none of them can offer doctorates in certain fields, and that they have to apply through the government to get them. Like, I'm curious to know how much money the University of Missouri is lobbying out. Like, I'm curious to know if the people who are in the schools are lobbying this money, or what kind of back and forth deal that they're working to get this. And when I'm curious to know, because again, I found this out yesterday and didn't have enough time to research it, but I want to know, like, when did basically the government start mandating what schools can offer what degree programs, and why? Like, it should be a free market thing. Like, in theory, what you would have, if your biggest fear is that people are going to be like giving people false information for their doctorate, like they're like, oh, they're not going to teach it because they don't know it, then what you would do is have a private board approve of your curriculum and approve of your teachers. So then my advantage, if I was the University of Missouri, would be, oh, we actually have, like, let's say it's journalism. Like, oh, we have the best journalists in the world verify our journalism program as like top notch. So that's why you would come here. You wouldn't force the government to tell other schools they couldn't offer that program. You would just work to make sure that yours was better. And I'm not saying there isn't corruption in there. You could bribe the system. But again, even that, at that point, though, it's private. So then you're making your own decisions, not being forced by the government. But dude, the whole bill was just so, I mean, reading that whole thing, I was like, dude, this is hilarious. Well, it's got bill amendments. It's got, free speech attacks. I mean, it's a crazy piece of legislation. I just wish I could figure out what the bill number was on it.
Here's the thing that cracks me up too, right? Remember when that black kid was at Mizzou, was on hunger strike because of white privilege, and then like journalists showed up to Mizzou campus because all this wacky stuff was going on, and the journalism teacher told them they had to leave. And it's like, they're journalists at your school, and you're telling them as a journalism teacher to leave. Okay, interesting. Apparently you have no idea what free speech is, even though freedom of the press and freedom of speech is all in one amendment, the First Amendment. You clearly don't have a grasp of that. And I'm like, okay, why would I want that school that has journalism teachers like that being the one to give out master's degrees in research? Maybe it's because there's a reason, because they have the whack job teachers at that school, and the agenda will be followed. It will be followed to a T. And I just wonder sometimes if that's not the case, just for, again, the control mechanism of it, where they're just like, oh yeah, you can look at us, do whatever, but we're it. If you come here, and then again, they'll be taught a certain way, they'll do things a certain way, and then we may crank out, I don't know what the stats would be, but maybe get one good researcher out of 100. So you might get 1% might be like, okay, that guy is going to do his own thing and he's going to do it the right way. The other 99 are kind of up in the air, questionable, and you're like, what are we going to freaking do now? But yeah, it's a very interesting bill. It's stupid. The SB 57 or whatever everybody was up in arms about it had to do with like mandating certain medical procedures. I wonder if I can find it on God, I think it might have been on a Shield Maidens page. I'm not. Oh, it was SB7, Runaway Omnibus Bill. Started out as 9 pages, now 91 pages. Original purpose expanded to cover multiple subjects. Title changed from emergency services to healthcare. violates Article Section 21 and 23, makes a medical treatment mandatory in 210.030, states the physician or person providing care shall administer treatment, set to pass the Missouri legislature any day. So it's SB 7. Okay, so they bring up the two sections of the Constitution, 21 and 23, and they call it a runaway omnibus bill. You know how many more omnibus bills have been passed that might have had something, again, that they liked in it? Nothing. Crickets. Silence. So why, as a person who looks in this in such a way to try to get all perspectives, that's what I'm trying to push myself. There is one thing about this job that I have now, is that when I go and I'm working with maintenance, is I go out and I get the perspective of people from my department. I get the perspective of managers of maintenance and HSSE, and I get the perspective of the mechanics and the electricians. And I try to formulate something as a happy medium so everybody can get their job done and go on if I have to do that, right? So my brain is slowly being trained to, like, even though I've done that for a long time, it's being reinforced now, to just look at things from multiple perspectives and try to form an opinion. And it's sad that freedom groups across the country can't do that. It's very monomaniacally focused. Now, Tom Martz sent the 10th Amendment Center, because the 10th Amendment Center had an article stating that, gold and silver passed in Missouri waiting to go to the governor's desk. Now, right at the beginning, they talk about Mike Moon amending that bill to another bill to get it through. But now this is the 10th Amendment Center. Now, like Tom said, Tom's giving them the benefit of the doubt because they probably don't know the state constitution, right? They probably don't know anything about Article 1, Section 23, Article 3, Section 21 and 23. They probably don't know anything about it, so he gives them a little benefit of the doubt. But he has contacted them and said, hey, this violated two sections of the Constitution. And he has gotten nothing back from them either. Now, it's just Mike Mahari and, oh my God, what's the other guy's name? I can't think of the guy that does the most of the videos for Mike. Anyway, both those, it's a lot of, like, one or two guys have to spearhead that whole thing and try to run it and keep it afloat. But yeah, he contacted him and said, guys, I know you wrote this article. I don't know exactly what he wrote to, but he was challenging their views. So, and 10th Amendment Center, this is not anything, I'm not saying anything bad about the 10th Amendment Center. 10th Amendment Center has done a lot of good articles. They put out a lot of good videos. And they go back to the founding fathers and their writings. And so there's nothing wrong with the 10th Amendment Center. It's just, I hope that they respond to Tom and say, oh, thanks for, and then maybe they can, I don't know if they'll, edit the article and change it up and say, oh, yeah, by the way, that was unconstitutional, but they passed gold and silver in Missouri, but it was done unconstitutionally. I don't know if they'll do that or not. I have no freaking clue. I would hope they did. I would hope that they would take that to heart, take that information, and maybe edit the article that they wrote or update it or something. But yeah, it's interesting that there's a lot of freedom folks in states all the way across this country. I know it sounds like I'm picking on Missouri groups only. I'm not. You see this in a lot of other states too, people pushing legislation, and it probably violates their state constitution, or it might, it more than likely does. There's a high chance of that. But that's just become the norm. That's just that, well, we got to, it's like we're almost to a point, and I could be way off, where that's a system that's been in place for a long time as far as pushing multi-subject bills through. And they're like, I don't know if they're just like, heck, if you can't beat them, join them. I don't know if that's the way they think. I mean, honestly, it seems kind of that way. I mean, what do you think, Brandon? But it almost feels that way a little bit.
I think sometimes I'm not. I can't think of a good way to phrase it to simplify it, but it's just that they have certain values that they value higher than the Constitution. So, like when they see, like when the 10th Amendment Center sees that gold and silver passed in Missouri, it supersedes the fact that it violated part of the Missouri Constitution to them. Like they care about the Constitution, but they care about the ability to pay for things in gold and silver more than they value the fact that they do that constitutionally. And I understand that way of thinking. I just don't agree with it because you can't, like the Constitution is supposed to be the most stable framework for governing, for how everyone lives their life all the time. We are constantly under the umbrella of the Constitution. You have to do that. I mean, if you're gonna, you have to make change within that framework, or everything you've done can be undone just as fast as you did it. And it's easy to get people to just twist their way of thinking. So, like when I was thinking back to Bryant Wolfen on the House floor, right? He asked that other legislator to give him to read to explain why that the bill didn't violate the Constitution, like how them changing the bill, changing the name of the bill, suffices. You know, the so the legislator who was explaining the bill explained to Bryant why he believed that changing the name of the bill skirts around the Constitution, and it pure and simple, he was wrong. Like he tried to say that you can change the name of the bill, and that's gonna unbreaks the rule that you've already broken, which is clearly not true. And so, and like we were talking about earlier, when you violate the Constitution to get your agenda done, you have validated the other side to break the Constitution to get what they want done. And so you're just going to have a back and forth tit for tat of, well, we can screw the Constitution over harder. And almost every single time, like very rarely, you'll break the Constitution to get a win like gold and silver. More likely than not, you break it to raise taxes and add regulation.
Yeah, you're not lying. I mean, you're not lying at all. It's a sad fact. But like I said, it almost feels like sometimes they've given up and said, we're going to get this done whatever way possible, which is exactly what the government does, right? They'll bend or stretch or flat out break the rules to get it done. They will violate the Constitution at every turn. Or they'll just violate some other rule set down in the Senate or the House. They'll do whatever they have to do to get the win, to get their name on a piece of legislation passed so they can go home and brag to their constituents on what a bang-up job they did in the session. And they just crapped all over everything, over any guideline at all that regulates their behavior. And but yeah, I mean, if they're gonna play by those rules and say we have to get this done badly enough that we're going to do it any way possible, then we are acting as the politicians do right now, which is freaking scary, because what normal person wants to operate like those people do? What normal person goes, oh man, yeah, I want to be just like Nick Schroer, talk a big game, and when I get in my office, I whip out a piece of legislation, I take a big dump on it, and I write my name in feces on the bill. And then I get on Twitter and brag about how big of a conservative I am and how much I love Donald Trump. And I'm just supposed to go, oh, that's our guy right there, man. Go, Comrade Schroer. I don't know. It's unimpressive. It's not impressive at all. Go listen on the House floor or the Senate floor when bills are being debated. Listen to the way those people talk, right? And if those people can convince a whole bunch of people to vote for them based on the most gigantic dump truck full of BS and win re-election after re-election, You getting on there, passing a piece of crap legislation and getting on social media and bragging about it is about as impressive as the other person who just lied their way into getting elected. But then when you listen to them talk, it's like it sounds like they literally have two brain cells to rub together. So I'm just like, you're going to have to do way more than that to impress me to go, you know what? You're pretty freaking awesome. I like you. And two guys so far have really impressed me for the most part, and that is Bryant Wolfen and Mike Moon. And other than that, you'll get some great behavior once in a while. Like you go, oh, okay. But then a week later, they're back to their normal behavior. Like, oh, oops, I almost thought you were a good human being again. You almost had me fooled, but I snapped out of it. But yeah, it's just unimpressive. It really is.
So kind of pivoting here a little bit, but another one of those like, okay, so you did something good, but at the cost of the Constitution. Here we go. This is from Truth Social. This is from Donald J. Trump. For many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the same drug, manufactured at the exact same laboratory or plant, and by the same company? It was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. The pharmaceutical/drug companies would say for years that it was the research and development costs, and that all of these costs were, and would be for no reason whatsoever, borne by the suckers of America alone. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me and not with the Republican Party. We are going to do the right thing, something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Pause really quick. You know that what's about to come is about to be a major violation of the Constitution. Like, you know that when he says, I'm signing an amazing executive order at 9 a.m., it's not to undo all of the executive orders that violated the Constitution. No. At 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. They will rise throughout the world in order to equalize and, for the first time in many years, bring fairness to America. I will be instituting a most favored nations policy whereby the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. Our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens' healthcare costs will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before. Additionally, on top of everything else, the United States will save trillions of dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So, my point to this is that, sure, I think prescription drug prices on a lot of drugs is probably too high. The government, I mean, I'm sure that companies, especially ones that produce new drugs that don't have that don't have off brands yet, or that haven't their
they don't have generic forms and all that.
Generics, yeah, there's no generics for them because their hasn't lapsed. Their patent on it hasn't lapsed yet. So he's reducing the price of drugs. So what if, let's say Kamala Harris was president and she was like, we're going to do price controls on groceries and we're only going to pay for your groceries what the most amount that someone else pays for this product in another country. The Republicans would lose their minds. They would go bananas. That's price controls. This is communism. Everything's going to be more expensive. But Donald Trump goes, we're going to cap prescription drug costs. We're instituting price controls on the thing that I want to do it on. And then you got MAGA bending over backwards. It's the best president of our lifetime. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, again, if the shoe was on the other foot, the Republicans would be going absolutely crazy. Because while you have instituted what some would conceive as a good thing, like, sure, lower prescription drug costs, in like just by itself alone, like stand alone, if you just said that right there, drug prices are lower. Sure, that's a good thing. You did it by violating the Constitution and instituting price controls. Like, you have sold the house for the condo.
And here's the thing. how many, we have the FDA, we have the American Medical Association, we have multiple agencies around medicine and just the medical fields, right? All of them with their hands in it, all of them regulating to death and everything else. And nobody, you're telling me nobody goes, hey, maybe we should back off. No, it's tread harder, daddy. I mean, that's their motto. Tread harder, daddy. Oh, yeah. I love it when you step on my back and tell me what I have to do and pay these fees. And, you know, it's so jacked up because we didn't give. Biden or whoever gave the pharmaceutical companies billions of dollars for the COVID vaccines. The same pharmaceutical companies that he turns around and complained about all the time of charging too much for prescription drugs. Dude, you gave them billions of dollars. You stole money from the American people and handed it to them to produce a vaccine. And then now you want, and then in the same breath, well, a week later, you're going to complain about super high prescription drug prices. Meanwhile, these corporations lobby, throw billions of dollars into all these, congressional purses in their campaign funds. And so I guarantee you they're going to help write this. They probably helped write the EO. They probably helped with the language in the executive order in a way that's going to hurt them the least. And we'll see drug prices go up. Well, something's going to happen. Or either that, you can't get a hold of them. There'll be shortages, whatever, because they're like, we're losing money and we're not gonna produce as much as we used to.
You're probably for sure right about that last point, the shortages. Yeah, I guarantee if they're making more money in another country, they're going to make sure their shelves are stocked higher in another country. And then you're going to have people who can't get their certain prescription drugs. You're 100% right about that.
Here's the thing. And I was thinking about this on the way home because I keep seeing articles, somebody's got an opinion on this constantly. And I remember back, I think it was before Barack Obama's first presidency, during the Democratic, national, when everybody's vying for the spot, right? And you had 3 or 4 people coming up with health care bills. And Bill Maher, who, as quirky as he is, as much of a liberal as he is, also is kind of a health nut, right? And he talks a lot about how awful some of these drugs they put out are and everything else. But he even said in a stand-up skit of his or stand-up routine, he was talking about how, and it might have been on a show too, I don't remember. Anyway, he's talking about there were 3 versions of this healthcare bill. And one of them mentioned diet and exercise like 5 times. But prescription drugs and all these other things were mentioned numerous times, just laden throughout the bills, right? Or through their proposed legislation that they would like to see done. And he's like, okay, we're so unhealthy, but what's the government gonna do, right? They're gonna pivot to the people who pay them mega campaign donations. They're not gonna pivot to, hey, if we need to kind of educate people on eating right. Like take that food table and chuck it out the window. 9 servings of grain and 2 servings of meat or whatever, however they got it. Got it flipped upside down. We're going to take that, we're going to throw it away, or we're going to flip that food pyramid over, and we're going to put the proteins at the top. That's the most servings, and the carbs at the lowest. But they don't do that. What do? They go instantly to prescription drugs, and they pivot to more government control of healthcare and more regulation the exact opposite way that you go to lower prices and get better products and more variety. You go the exact opposite way and then go, I don't know what's going on. And I know what it is. They hope, I mean, they said when they passed the Affordable Care Act, the plan was, in the background, the plan was, we want this to fail to institutionalize a single payer system. They wanted it to crash, to institute a single payer system like the UK has, where, oh, you're sick? Here, just lay in this bed in the hallway because we're overburdened with patients right now. So you can just lay out in this hallway in a bed and maybe someone will get to you later. Oh yeah. And then, I don't know, as a citizen of the United States, you look at that and go, sounds pretty good. They don't, you could show them multiple examples of that and they'll be like, oh, that's made up. That's just far right-wing propaganda. It's like, fine, buy a plane ticket, go to the UK, go into a hospital and start walking around and see what you see. When there's nobody there to not pull a Douglas Murray and the hospital only shows you certain areas, not treating it like Israel and Palestine. But you just go in there and see what you can see and talk to people and see what kind of care they're getting off the cuff, right? No, there's no set agenda. It's not a planned thing. Just show up. Go to Canada and talk to those people and see how much they like their quote unquote free healthcare. Like you're smoking crack. But this whole healthcare thing, the whole prescription drugs, that's one thing about RFK Jr., right? He said some wonky stuff, right? But he also made a very good point. Dave Smith pointed this out, and he made a great point on this. He also pointed out we spend the most amount of money of any country on healthcare, and we are the sickest country in the world. For, as much as we spend, we should be way healthier, and we're way sicker. Now, all the people that want to talk smack about RFK, sometimes they have a good point, will not take that statement and try to dismantle it and say, see, he's really weird. They don't touch that subject. They shut up. They say nothing. And now what's that supposed to tell me?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not arguing with any of your points,
No.
but just quick side note. My big qualm with RFK right now is that he came in, under the HHS, he was like, we're going to fight back against the mRNA vaccines. And now he's fighting anti-Semitism. I'm actually thinking about hoarding a bunch of Red 40 for whenever it finally gets banned by the government. I'm going to have my own secret stash of Blue 4 and Red 40 and all the home dyes. I've been buying them up on the internet.
I have seen a lot of people freaking out on the internet too, or posts that people have reposted about these doctors freaking out, saying that all the vaccines should be studied with a placebo to see the effects, and they're freaking out, saying this is going to cause vaccine hesitancy. And it's like, okay, think about all the other products out there that you might put on your skin or something. If they told you they were untested and that you didn't see the little approved by the FDA label, you wouldn't buy the crap, right? You wouldn't pay a penny. I ain't buying that. You talk about vaccines and saying we're going to place them with a placebo and we're going to do a blind study. Then they have a meltdown. It's like, what are you so afraid of? Most people were raised to go get your vaccines. When you have a kid, you go get them vaccinated. Most people are still going to do it. And I'm not going to judge them on it. They do whatever they want. But to sit here and pretend like that is the most god-awful thing you can do right now, that's really retarded.
Also, you want to put, let's say that every vaccine that's on the schedule works exactly as intended with a very, very, very minimum side effects. Let's just say that that's real, right? Then when the government is offering to give you a blind placebo test to prove your efficacy beyond a doubt, again, government funded, then you'd think they'd be the first people signed up. They'd be like, oh yeah, check it. Check our data, check our work. It's going to work exactly the way we said it would. And then it would add more validity to the mRNA vaccines, or any vaccine for that matter. And so you're 100% right. The fact that they won't agree to the blind test is a clear indicator that something's afoot. That they're not working as intended, or they have unintended side consequences and side effects that they're not telling us about. Because if the government was offering you the most foolproof way to prove your efficacy and your ethics, then you would take it up immediately if your product was worth it.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, if these things work like you say they do, then what is your problem? The problem is they've had a gravy train for a long time, and they have gotten to the point. Society has gotten to a point that they've just been told, you don't question that kind of science. You don't question that at all. You just leave it alone. Shut up. Vaccines are safe and effective, all of them, and you just shut up about the vaccines. You shut up about medicine. You don't question the science, right? And so people just, okay, I don't want to be called a conspiracy theorist. I don't want people, bringing me boxes of tinfoil to wrap on my head because I think maybe some things are dangerous when they told me they're not. But yeah, if you're out here active, I mean, turn on any major cable network news channel. 50% of the freaking ads are for medication. You're clearly doing okay. Okay? You're clearly doing okay. And you make it sound like these pills are great. Even though sometimes I'd rather have the illness than the side effects they come off with. But regardless, you're out here making yourself sound like the gods of medicine. And suddenly to question your products gets you a little antsy. It makes me wonder why they get so nervous. It makes me wonder why their buttholes pucker a little bit when you start talking about doing a little bit more intensive research on the products that they produce. Suddenly they get very defensive, and I find that humorous because it's like, what are you so worried about? What's the deal? I can't.
Well, like we were talking about with the FDA earlier. Like the FDA approves a bunch of drugs that later get recalled. And then that company will get sued, and they'll have made so much money off the drug that they just pay off the lawsuit with the profits from the drug that was harming people in the first place and giving people all sort of issues. Like whenever you hear about those like class action lawsuits from different medicines on TV, those were all approved by the FDA at some point. So
yeah,
I mean, it's just built into their algorithm is that we're going to make drugs. Some of them are going to make people really, really sick or kill people, and we're going to pay out. But we're going to make enough money before we pay out to make it all worth it. And it's just this, it's the nature of the system. And so when we had a conversation with Tom, can't remember if it was this session or the last session, where we brought up like the idea of having no board and having no approval system for doctors and for medicines. And he's like, well, the FDA, I think Tom brought it up. He's like, the FDA approves a bunch of drugs that get recalled. And so that's not a flawless system to begin with, not to mention that there's the revolving door between the FDA and the board of directors for different pharmaceutical companies.
And and the CDC is the same way. They just rotate in and out. And you bring up a really good point. I mean, again, I remember as a kid, well, not as a teenager, I developed seasonal allergies, right? And I would get a cortisone injection right when it hit, and about a week later, I was good for the rest of the year. And the doctor also prescribed me Seldane. And Seldane got pulled from the shelves later on because apparently if you took Seldane and drank orange juice with it, it could cause heart damage. So they had to pull it. And the other thing, we're talking about vaccines and medicines and all this stuff. You're talking about lawsuits. You get injured by a vaccine, you can't take them to court. You have to go in front of a magistrate, hope you can prove your case, and then get awarded funds. So I asked the question, if your products are what you say they are and they're so good, I do believe that really the pharmaceutical industry is the only one that's gotten themselves into a position where you literally cannot sue them for damages. That must feel really awesome. And how does that incentivize someone to produce the highest quality products when you literally, like, again, the vaccines? You have a horrible batch of vaccines. Bunch of people get hurt. No skin off our back. Government doesn't doing these things that the government does. Pharmaceutical industry, insurance industry, whatever. They do not incentivize good behavior. They don't incentivize cheaper prices, more choices. They incentivize monopolies and greedy behavior and eliminating their competition and a myriad of things, but they do not incentivize what we would ask for in a truly free market system, which is competition, lots of variety, various prices, and a much happy consumer base, and probably a much happier producer base. I don't know. It just blows my freaking mind.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up right now the year that they instituted basically giving vaccine manufacturers a free pass.
So
And
that was when the second swine flu came out, they got a buy on the swine flu, and then I want to say maybe during Reagan's term is when they got I think maybe it was Reagan's term where they're like, oh, you can't sue vaccine manufacturers for injuries.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out what exact year that was, because I'm going to look up what vaccines that kids were supposed to take in like the year before that versus like 10 years and 20 years later. So I'm looking up the let's say 84 to be safe, vaccine schedule for kids. So it had the DTaP, polio, and MMR. Those were the only three vaccines that I can see on this schedule from 1984. So let's look up the 2000. So they'd added hepatitis B, the Hib, the Haemophilus influenza, and the varicella, and then which the hepatitis B one. Have we talked about that before?
Yeah, we have. Which
So-
no child needs. No baby needs a
No.
Hep B a Hep B vaccine, because you literally only get it in 2 ways, and childbirth is not one of them.
So I'm going to look up the current APA, the American Pediatrics Association vaccine schedule, and I'm going to read off all the different ones they have on there now. Oh, it's the AAP. So they have RSV, which you're supposed to do at birth, hepatitis B at birth, rotavirus at 2 months, DTaP at 2 months, Hib, influenza at 2 months, pneumococcal conjugate at 2 months, inactive poliovirus at 2 months. Then they have the COVID-19 starting at 6 months and influenza starting at 6 months. And then at 1 year, at 1 year you've got MMR, varicella, human papillomavirus that's later. Those are all the ones for like newborns to 1-year-olds. But then when you get to be, looks like about 10 years old, you would maybe get your papillomavirus, meningitis, another RSV shot. I mean, there's so many.
So
They went from having 3. While before you could sue vaccine industries, there were 3 vaccines: DTaP, polio, and what was
probably
the other one?
MMR, wasn't it?
Yep, DTaP, MMR, and polio. And now there's
30, 40
looks
of them.
like it. Yeah, it looks like at least 10 shots they have to take. And it's like you'll have 3 doses of rotavirus within your first 6 months. You'll have 3 doses of the pneumococcal within your first 6 months, and a 4th dose at a year. I mean, just shot after shot after shot. It's like every time you take a newborn baby to the doctor's office, they're getting 3 or 4 new shots.
So 1986, the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. The only problem with it is that this sets up the federal system where you have 3 years to prove vaccine injury, and then if you plead your case well enough, they'll be like, okay, you'll be awarded money. But your chances of that are very low. It's not a high chance you'll get compensation for vaccine injuries for your children or whatever. So, yeah, all the way back in 1986, HB 5546, I believe, was the bill number. Let me see. I just had it up. Yeah, HR 5546, 99th Congress, 1985 to 1986 is when the National Childhood, what did I just say that was? Oh, National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. With that many words in the bill, it probably doesn't spell anything good for the people. Just saying.
No.
That's a lot of big words, and I'm surprised they could fit all those big words into one phrase.
Part of the reason that you can thank Reagan for being in part of the COVID being part of the whole government authoritarian.
Yep.
How they were forcing you to take the shot before you could go back to work. I mean, it's crazy to think about that. Like, we were very close to, if your business had 50 people or more, you had to take the vaccine. We were that close. Yeah.
Yeah. I
fortunately didn't work at a company at that time, so I was never in danger of like losing my job over it. But like a bunch of people I knew were.
That time that was being considered, we had 800 people. So it was definitely going through, and it was so funny to talk to some of the younger people. People my age or a little older, I had several guys said, guess I'm getting fired or guess I'm quitting. A lot of younger folks was like, oh man, I don't want to start over. And I said, you got to realize something, gentlemen. If you go and get that vaccine, this place owns you. They own your body. And I said, this place doesn't own my body at all. Yes, I go in there and sacrifice. I have sacrificed my body and my time to get a paycheck, but they don't own me outright. I can walk out the door anytime I want.
Yeah. But hey, I will say we've got some good news we can talk about.
Yeah, what's that?
So Trump slams neocons and nation builders in his Saudi speech. Now, I don't know if you have been hearing the same kind of rumblings I've been hearing on the internet, but there could be a Trump-Netanyahu falling out happening pretty soon. Again, I'm so far away from being optimistic at this point with some of, like, with the conservatives in office in general, but in particular Trump. But, he's not running for a re-election. So it is interesting for him to be in Saudi Arabia talking slamming the neocons. And what I think is interesting too is, like, I can't remember who pointed this out, but like 2 weeks ago, famous nutty conservative Mark Levin said that neocon is a pejorative for a Jew.
It's anti-Semitic to use neocon.
So are they saying that Trump is anti-Semitic? Is that what Mark Levin is saying? Because I'm trying to find the quote. It's crucial for the wider world to know this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes, giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more the nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, liberal nonprofits, like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Baghdad and so many other cities. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it at this point.
If he's going to step back and go, I got to reconsider, I'm fine with that. I wish Netanyahu would show up in America, and then they would get P. Diddy out of prison, and then R. Kelly out of prison, and then let R. Kelly pee on Netanyahu, and then put him back on the plane and send him back, and his urine-soaked clothes. Be like, yeah, winning. We had a Diddy party for Netanyahu when he showed up. We peed on him.
It's a far cry from when he pulled the chair out for him and pushed it in for him at the White House a couple weeks ago. So this is, it's just trending in a good direction. Yesterday, Hamas released if I'm remembering correctly, it was the last known American citizen in Gaza. The last one that was alive is from what I heard. And that this was because of direct talks between the U.S. and Hamas, and that the talks did not involve Israel. And so,
I know they were upset about that.
Okay, just a quick sidebar though. It says that Hamas released Eden Alexander, a 21-year-old New Jersey-born IDF soldier. So I will say that if you you hear it online all the time from conservatives who just don't do their research or know what they're talking about. And they'll be like, what about the American hostages over there? We have to blow up all of Gaza and half its citizens to free the American hostages over there. This guy was an American. He was born in New Jersey, sure, was a soldier in the IDF. If you are a soldier in a foreign government's army, it's safe to say that your status as an American citizen changes slightly, right? Like you don't if someone joined up with the Japanese army and got shot in a fight, or a Filipino army and got shot in an exchange between the Chinese and the Philippines, we wouldn't blame the Chinese government for killing an American citizen. It would be killing a soldier in a war, right? Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the fact that he was born in America means less than the fact that he was an IDF soldier. This is an article from antiwar.com that I'm reading this from. I don't know. That whole thing is just strange that they make this seem like we freed the American-born hostage. Yeah, but he was fighting for the Israeli government. I don't know. Just doesn't seems weird to me. But then also, also good news that apparently Trump, I don't know how much he had to do with it, but he negotiated some sort of peace between India and Pakistan right after they were getting ready to go to war. So again, and apparently Trump, apparently Trump, Putin, and Zelensky are all set to meet again to have more discussions on ending the war. So I just mean, on a foreign policy standpoint, a pretty good week for the president. I'm in the first one to critique his bad moves. And then also we pulled out we're out of the Red Sea, or we're not. I don't know if we're pulling out of the Red Sea, but we were moving some of our carrier ships out of the Red Sea, and we had came to an agreement with the Houthis that we were no longer going to bomb them. And what's funny is the next day the Houthis launched that attack on an airport in Israel. So clearly, it wasn't contingent on a ceasefire between Israel and the Houthis. It was just a ceasefire between the United States and the Houthis, which is fantastic. Again, these are all just it's 4 consecutive foreign policy wins, in my opinion, which I'll be the first one to criticize him when he does something I don't like. So I'll give him credit this time. He's 4 pretty promising moves in 1 week.
There are people who actively say all the time that Trump is a person that if you get enough people in his ear saying, "Hey, you should really rethink this. This isn't good," that you can actually sometimes get him to reconsider his moves. Like, he's not always so knee jerk that he will just like do it. And so if you get enough people talk to him like, "Hey, you got a lot of supporters out here who don't like this, not a good look, maybe rethink this," that sometimes he will actually step back. Now, I'm not this is in no way me excusing the goofy things that he does, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not saying he's the best president we've seen in our lifetime and blah, blah, blah. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I've heard from multiple people who are not even in the White House, are not on his staff, say, yes, sometimes you can talk to him because he will ask for varying opinions. And at some point, somebody says the right thing and changes his mind and makes him like snap out of it and go, okay, maybe we need to back off right now. And he'll back off and he'll rethink it. Now, again, he still makes a lot of dumb decisions. But and I guess I should add this too, if that's actually true, that if you can influence him into a way of doing things in a better way, again, not dropping bombs or not doing things, and trying to reconcile differences between countries and help facilitate some kind of ceasefire and peace agreements, even though technically we shouldn't even be involved in that. But okay, if he's trying to make peace the goal, cool. I'd much rather have somebody who's talking with leaders and trying to facilitate a peace deal over saying, well, these guys want us to blow up these 7 countries over the next 5 years, and that sounds like a really humdinger of an idea, so let's get on that. If you can influence him and it doesn't matter if it's Trump or somebody else. If someone's willing to listen to a lot of people before they form an opinion and make a decision, I'm fine with that. Even if the decision's wrong, I'd rather have, instead of somebody from some kind of intelligence agency marching into the president's office and saying, this is what's happening, we need to bomb them. And he's like, he looks at only their stuff and goes, okay, bomb them. And doesn't say, I need to get some other voices in here. Because that's what we do a lot. That's what a lot of presidents have done. They've gone with really bad information. These people swear up and down it's the truth because, there's nothing more that they would enjoy than to blow up a bunch of brown people. And they just do it. So if you have someone in the White House who you can actually talk to and go, hey, dude, rethink this. Look at these things. And that person, even if they back off for a month and go, all right, we need to look at this a little closer and figure something else out. I am perfectly happy with that over just somebody who's happy making money off their stock portfolio because, Lockheed and all these other companies get big government contracts to make more weapons and go blow up people in another country. I'm fine with that. Again, not a huge Trump fan, but if he's backing away and he's changing his mind, he wants to do it the opposite way, I will back him 100%, as long as afterwards there's no entangling alliances, which causes more grief down the road and it gets us into some other proxy war for some other stupid reason. So I don't know. I did see, because Dave Smith brought up this post, because we have people like this in Congress, Representative Brian Mast. Now, this is all the way from February of last year, right? But a Republican representative believes that Palestinian babes are not innocent civilians, but terrorists who should be killed. That's the way the article starts. Florida Rep. Brian Mast made the horrifying comment when confronted by Code Pink protesters outside his office on Wednesday. In a video, Mast can be seen calmly telling the demonstrators, it would be better if you kill all the terrorists and kill everyone who are supporters. When asked if he's seen the images of Palestinian babies killed in Israel attacks, Mast says these are not innocent Palestinian civilians. The babies? The activist asked in astonishment. Maston says that 500,000 people starving to death should have elected a pro-Israel government. Said when one protester points out that much of Gaza's infrastructure has been destroyed, Mass says, and there's more infrastructure that needs to be destroyed. Did you not hear me? There's more than that needs to be destroyed, he says again for emphasis. So that's the kind of people that we have in this thing. And again, this not just Israel, Palestine. This is Ukraine and Russia. And when Iraq and Iran were fighting, when Russia and the Afghans were fighting, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, and on and on and on. This is an ongoing, constant, same old tired BS argument over and over again. Oh, it's just better that they're dead. And I just don't think that you can have a country that can survive for thousands of years with that mentality. I mean, honestly, I think we're lucky we've made it as far as we have because of the way we've acted since the Korean War. I'm surprised we've made it as far as we have.
Oh, I honestly, it's got nothing. It's got to do with like partially with luck and currency manipulation and just resource plundering in a way. But no, you're 100. The saddest part to me, and I am in no way even close to what I consider a socialist, but like heaven forbid, like I'll just forego the fact that all of the Americans who spent tax money or have had to deal with the inflation based on the insane level of spending our government does, like forgo that. If you had just taken all that money and done something what the socialists would consider good with it, you actually probably could have done a lot of productive things. I mean, you're talking about, what did they, like on the Middle Eastern wars, what is it, $10 trillion plus? $1 trillion. I mean, and that money's gone. Like that money was made into bombs, and those bombs exploded. That money, poof, went away like that. It's gone forever. And so it's unfathomable to me sometimes. Like what could have been different if we just had never invaded Iraq and Afghanistan? Or if we invade Afghanistan in 2001, take out Osama bin Laden before he escapes into Pakistan, and then we come home. Right? We got him, we come home. What does our country look like with just all of that extra money? I mean, they used to talk about the debt ceiling, like, oh, the debt ceiling. It's astronomical. Janet Yellen, or I don't know if it's Janet Yellen anymore, but whoever's leading the Treasury is sending out open warnings that like we cannot keep spending like this anymore. I mean, like you said, it's amazing what our country has come to. The fact that we're still as viable as we are, with the way our elected officials have just squandered away our money.
Yeah, it is. What is this crap? Sorry. But it is, I don't know. This whole thing with, okay, we talk about trillions of dollars we spent in, blowing up other countries or whatever. And you're just like, what happens if we just hadn't printed that money? How much more prosperous would the people be if they take everything out, right? I mean, let's not talk about any government programs they've done or anything else. Just take out the printing of money for the military industrial complex or weapons manufacturers or whatever, right? Take all that out. Proxy wars, take it all out. You just say, we're taking all that money and we didn't print it. So what would our national debt be right now? And how much more prosperous would people be? And instead, when if you'd bring this up to people in Congress, they would look at you and be dazed. They would be like, what do we, huh? What? What do you mean not print $10 trillion? Like, yeah, if you just stop printing money and didn't spend it like crazy, have you ever thought of that? Like, it never even came to mind. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. I don't know. What are you doing now?
Well, I just the number of people, let's say, who like you have $10 trillion sitting in an account somewhere, right? Like you just instead of spending that money on war and bombs and whatever, we just saved it, and it's a $10 trillion in a savings account, right? And we only spent it for people who needed life saving treatment and didn't have insurance and couldn't afford it. So you had like people who needed life saving treatment who didn't get it. We have $10 trillion to pay for those. How many people would we have saved if we just wouldn't have spent that money and spent that money on people who were going to die and we could have saved them? I mean, it's again, it's one of those things where it's just like it's unfathomable to me at a certain point how we could spend that much money on useless. I mean, and not even that we spent that much money on useless wars. It's that the first opportunity one comes up, we're like, the very next opportunity, we're like, let's spend some more money in Ukraine. Let's spend some more money in China. Let's spend some more money on Israel. Like let's occupy the Gaza Strip. What did they say in an article I read? They want to occupy the Gaza Strip Iraq style, where the United States spends its money and its military resources to prop up a Palestinian government. That was like a serious plan being considered by White House officials. And so, I mean, the fact that we've wasted all that money and that we continue to do it is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that's it. It leads you. It should lead most people to one conclusion and one conclusion only, and that is our economy is built on war. It's been built on war since, like I said, the 50s and the Korean War. I think our economy is so built on war now that if they don't do these things, it literally crashes the economy. Because
Then
that's
so be it.
right. That's kind of where I'm
I mean,
at.
if we have to crash the economy to end the military industrial complex, and it's not like everyone's going to lose their job. It's going to start with anyone who made money on war. It's not like every person at Boeing is going to be fired because we quit going to war.
No.
It'll be a few people who actively make replenishment of the weapons, of the bombs. But we're still going to need, like, we would still have a fleet of fighter jets. We'd probably still have a fleet of the best fighter jets that money can buy.
Yeah.
Even if we weren't at war.
Yep.
Boeing's still going to make commercial jets and airliners. Like, again, you'll have, like,
That
General
the doors fall
Dynamics.
off of.
Yeah, that the doors fall off of. Yeah, maybe they should spend less time creating the next greatest fighter jet to sell to Israel and more time working on getting their airplanes to go up and come down safely.
With all the parts intact, yes.
And and the whole thing's still intact. Yeah. No. I could go on forever. But I'll finish on another I'm sure you heard that the US and China agreed to reduce the majority of tariffs and that they've paused another additional like 10% or whatever on their tariffs, which has caused the economy to boom. Like I was telling you I don't remember if I said it on the show or a couple weeks ago, but I bought the dip when they announced the tariffs. I was like, oh, take my money right out of my savings, right into the market. And now it's rebounded even higher than it was before the dip. So I'm having a pretty good week stock market wise.
I think a lot of people that do that are.
Oh yeah, and I honestly believe, like, again, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here, but I wholeheartedly believe that this was coordinated. That a bunch of people at these companies were like, hey, if we said we were going to do a bunch of tariffs, the market would drop, we could buy, and then we just announce the tariffs are over. It doesn't, on paper, it's not going to seem like it was some big conspiracy by big corporations, but it was one of the most obvious, like, it's going to dip and going to recover. And so if you had a bunch of capital at the time, you were set. You knew exactly, like if you were BlackRock, you're like, oh, everything's 15% off, huh? Don't mind if I just buy everything. But not this time. Not this time, BlackRock. I got a piece of it.
So it's funny too, because I don't think you're wrong. I mean, markets have been manipulated since the creation of the Federal Reserve. And I mean, the Great Depression was a result of a major intrusion by the banks, calling in all these loans at one time and everything else. I mean, And then what happened? It crashes, and then the big shots come in and buy companies up for pennies on the dollar. So after the economy recovers, they own, 10 times more companies than they did before the crash. So they love it. Yeah, they love a big dip. Get in, buy low, sell high, make some money, and just keep it up over and over. And if they have to manipulate the markets a little bit to get that done, so freaking be it. We'll just, they're just gonna sit there and try to make bank the whole time, it's just that's what sucks. I mean, there are, after the internet bubble and the 2008 housing market bubble crashed or burst, and then you had people who, there were a lot of people that lost their jobs or got laid off, but the people that didn't, that had the money to invest, when those stocks really tanked, they came in, bought a bunch of shares, and when the stock market climbed back up to its, pre-crash levels or higher, they made out like bandits. There were a lot of people, in their 40s and 50s who's like, oh, I got like a couple grand maybe. I can throw at this. And that stock just tumbled down and they siphoned money in. And when it recovered and went up some plus, yeah, they had a hell of a return on their investment. It is a thing that a lot of people do. I don't mess with the stock market at all. I don't trust it. I don't understand it enough to like want to take that bet. So I don't do it. And that's the thing. Something financially like that I don't understand at all, especially with the stock market, I just go, it's probably best that I don't, because then I have to explain to my wife later on why I lost, a few $1,000s, gambled on a stock or two. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get that butt whooping that I would get.
I 100% agree with you. Here's my monkey brain mentality. Here's my monkey brain thinking on it, right? They print more, like the government can't stop spending. They will continue to print more money. So everything that you buy with dollars is going to go up in value. And your dollar, you're going to need more dollars to buy things. So I would rather have something that you have to buy with money versus having the cash on hand. And I'm diversified. Again, let me preface this again because I know you can get in trouble. This is not financial advice, but I've got like some XRP, I've got some Bitcoin, I got some gold, and then I just have like the widest variety of different stocks that you can have. Like I have some O'Reilly Auto Parts, I have Nvidia, I have T-Mobile, you know what I'm saying? I'm so well diversified that like certain industries could go down and it would hurt me, but it's not going to wipe out my whole savings. It would have to be, the only thing that could wipe out my savings is the value of the dollar increasing exponentially. Like if like if the dollar was worth more and everything that you use to buy a dollar with costs less money, then I'm going to lose money. But until the government stops printing it at a massively inflationary rate, then again, I don't think I could have a giant savings in dollars knowing what the government does to money. That's how I think about it, is like I'd rather have literally anything than dollars in my as my stash savings right now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the UPMA stated back a couple years ago that if they got gold and silver passed in Missouri, they would build a couple branches in Missouri, at least one, possibly two, right? So that's the cool thing. If UPMA, the United Precious Metals Association, builds a bank, so you can set up an account with UPMA online, and you could say once a week you just send them X amount of dollars, right? And you tell them, I want that money to go to gold or silver or whatever, and they just set aside that much silver in a little place in the vault. But at any time, you could just drive to that branch and say, I would like my silver. And you go through the security steps, and then you walk in there, and they open up the vault, and they take out your silver or gold, or if you got bullion, coins, whatever, put it in something, and you walk out the door with your precious metals. And then you can turn around and just keep sending more money and rebuilding up your stockpile of silver while you hold some actual physical assets and then have some stored. And they even have a debit card that's tied to that account that's they can sliver off. They've got it in such a way that as you spend money, it'll sliver off the silver and get it down.
So it's a direct like it's a direct exchange. So like instead of paying, it cuts out the middleman of dollars. It's that you're paying directly in gold.
Well, no, you can just wire them money like from your account and just say you send them $100 a month and you just set it up as recurring and then say I want that in silver, and then every time they get $100, they just take that much silver and put it in your little spot in the vault.
No, right. I'm saying like with the debit card. Like if I went out to lunch and can you pay for lunch on that debit card?
Yes.
Right. So then they're instead of using the dollars as the exchange, the gold is still the exchange.
Yeah, the gold is the
exchange. It's just like the card is a representative of your amount of gold, not your amount of dollars.
Yep. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah, but that's exactly right. So you can get a debit card tied to it, and then you can spend that silver or gold that you've purchased from them. And now if you have under a certain amount in your account, I think they charge you a very minimal fee for like per month to have the card. It's insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But once you get over a certain amount, then there's no monthly fee to have that card. And then you just, if you want to spend it, you can. So it's nice. So once they build a branch, I'm probably going to do it because then I know it's local. And if I want to go get it, I can go get it.
Sure. But then I'm guessing then they're not allowed to fractionally bank then?
No.
So they just make their money on the fees of you using their service for the gold and silver. They're not making money on loaning out your gold to someone else.
Yeah, and then like you said, fractionally reserving it. It's well, the thing is, and I guess they're very like they're insured by Lloyd's of London, which they get audited by outside entities, and they come in and they look at all their security, and then they're like, well, how are you insured? And they pull out like, here's our insurance papers, and the auditors are like, oh my God, how did you get this? So they're blown away that they have this certain insurance company that covers the banks. Apparently they're very well set up. But yeah, it's something I want to look more into. Like I said, because that's the thing. If I send money to an agency or an entity's a better word, to save up silver and gold, I want to be able at any time to go get that. Now, right now, I could send it. The closest one is like Utah. I'd have to go to Utah to pick up my silver. I want it close enough to if I can get in my car, drive a couple hours, pick up my silver, bring it home, and put it in my safe if I want to, and not have to worry about it's 4 states away and there's some horrible natural disaster and now what happens? I mean, I'd rather have it here in Missouri. So I'm hoping that they're going to follow through and at least build a branch, and that way I'd feel a little better about sending the money and then being able to pick up my physical silver or gold coins or whatever. But that was what they told Patrick, and they told some other people. I'm hoping that they hold themselves to that and they actually still do it. We'll see. I mean, as far as I know, that bill still hasn't been signed by the governor, so I don't know what's going on with it. I just know he has so many days to sign it, and if not, then it just becomes law, or if he vetoes it, then they have to go to a veto session. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
That'd be pretty exciting stuff. I'd definitely move some of my money into like a physical, gold and silver reserve. Again, I trust what I use to buy my gold right now, but it would be nice to have it again until the government stops printing money. Everything you buy money with is most likely gonna get more expensive. Your dollars are at least going to be worth less compared to it. So it just seems like a no-brainer to me that if I could have an account where it's gold in the account, because that's going to be worth more money. Like if everyone else is still spending dollars and I have gold in my reserves and gold, the price of gold continues to go up, then your money is going to, it's like a savings account, but better, because savings account are like half of 1% interest or whatever, something stupid.
I remember in 2008 when the housing market crashed, like silver like went up 2.5 times in value. It was like 14, 15 bucks. It got almost up to $40 an ounce, and gold skyrocketed. And that happens every time there's a big bubble burst in the market. Silver and gold go, they skyrocket. People like, oh, I need a tangible asset. Instead of real estate, they went to gold and silver. They went to precious metals, started throwing their money into it, and then the value shot up. So, and gold has taken a little bit of dip, but it still continues to rise slowly but surely. I mean, silver's staying, it's going up a little bit. It doesn't go up like gold does from what I've seen when I look. But again, if we have another market crash, if you have a holding in silver and you decided you want to take a fraction of that and sell it, you're going to make money. You just wait long enough, even if it doubles from what you bought, you literally just doubled your money. And you keep some back. We just go out and you literally made money on an investment with a tangible asset. And because God, who the hell can afford to just go out and buy a house right now? Dude, I am seeing these houses. I just saw one today. I don't remember how many acres it had with it. It was a pretty nice house. Don't get me wrong. But it was on some like auction site. The starting bid was $339,000. I was like, yep, nope. I don't make that much money. And yeah, it's, dude, even around here, the housing prices, if you get outside of town, it's freaking terrible. You get like 10 acres and a decent house, holy crap. Your wallet's going to get raped for sure. I don't know. I don't know why anybody would buy real estate with interest rates as high as they are right now. And still there's unsurety in the marketplace. Unless I just had a job that was just set in stone and I was making bank, I could not go out and buy a piece of property and a nice house outside of Owensville, 5 miles, for $350,000. Everything, I would have to be financially set in order to do that, not have to worry about losing the house or any of that stuff, being able to pay the taxes on it. No, I am going to have to be financially set to, I mean, we had plans on moving closer to Jeff City, but by the time, like, my son was going to get out of school and everything, by that time, the housing market just shot up. And even though the value of our house probably would have been $30,000 or $40,000 higher, moving closer to Jeff City and their housing prices, I'd had to work till I was 75 to pay off the house. And I told my wife, like, I'm not doing it. I want to retire at a decent age. I do not want to be stuck paying on a house until I'm 75 years old. I just will not do it. The only thing that we talked about one time, and it was just kind of like a random thought, that maybe if we wanted to move closer to our job and we just sold this house and like rented a condo and said, heck with it. No more lawn care, none of that crap. You know, you have your place. Somebody cuts the grass. You've got a garage to put your car in, whatever. And you just say, heck with it. And you don't even worry about it anymore. But it's just as far as like buying another house. I'm 52. Dude, the thought of moving makes me want to throw up on my shoes, let alone like anything else. Like just, I hate moving, and I've moved. I don't know how many times we've moved since my wife and I have been together. It's been several times. And I told her, next time we move, I don't care how much it costs. We are hiring a moving company. I will gladly pack it up. They can put it in the truck, move it to the new location, bring the boxes in. I'll unpack it all day long. Just, dude, trying to carry the bed down these steps. Nope, too old for that. Hire some younger guys with strong backs, and they can. But the thought of moving again and trying to buy a house now. Yeah.
Well, plus every time you move, you break something important.
Yes.
Like you can't move. Because I moved like from when I was 19 to about 24 or 5, I probably moved 10 times. Just different apartments, move in with my mom, move out of my mom's house, this and that. And so I couldn't, I mean, I broke something I really treasured every single time. So yeah, dude. Plus you scratch up your walls and you got to go back and cover all that up. I mean, dude, moving's such a hassle.
It is. It
Yeah.
sucks horribly bad.
But
Okay,
one
we
thing
got
I will
about
say-
7 minutes left. So, anything you want to end on?
Oh, end on.
Yep.
We got a new Surgeon General, pretty polarizing. Obviously the Surgeon General's underneath the HHS secretary, correct or no?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't know.
Well, what was her name? Was it Shanahan? Is it Kennedy Shanahan? Is that her name? RFK Jr.'s running mate.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember
Well,
her name, but I know what
apparently-
you're talking about.
Apparently, so this Casey Means lady, that's the name of the new
Surgeon General.
the new Surgeon General. Apparently, she's not against mRNA vaccines. And so Shanahan was not happy. I'll see if I can find her post about it. But that's all I really had to end on was that I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people are upset because she's not what they said that she was going to be. That it seems like the HHS is not making as strong a stances against the mRNA vaccines as some people would have liked.
Yeah. I'm reading, this is from NPR. Dr. Casey Means has gained prominence in the wellness scene over the past year with the publication of her book, Good Energy, and appearances on high-profile podcasts. But her medical license is currently inactive, which could become an issue in her confirmation. Like, have you seen some of the pics these people have for Surgeon General? Are you worried about her medical license being outdated or, out of service or what? Like, that's the least of my concerns with the Surgeon General.
I know Anthony Fauci wasn't the Surgeon General, but he was, his role at the Institute of Health and whatever, the National Institute of Health. If that's our standard for like the top virologist in the country, and like that's who's supposed to be like leading, our standards are gone. There's no like, expert versus not expert standard on medicine anymore. Like we were talking about earlier, they completely flipped the food pyramid on its head. They recall so many, good drugs. Like there's no good standard on who's a medical expert anymore. I mean, you'll have obviously certain people you trust and doctors that you trust, but I mean, as like the overall whole of like trusting the science and trusting scientists and so-called doctors to give you the right information and not be corrupted by the government. I mean, you're kidding yourself. There is no standard anymore. But this is the tweet that Nicole Shanahan had. It's very strange. It doesn't make sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in his Senate confirmation, that neither of these siblings, Casey and Coley Means, because there was another, apparently Callie. Casey and Callie Means, I guess they're siblings. That neither one of these siblings would be working for HHS or in an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what is going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regards to the siblings, there's something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost like they were bred and raised Manchurian assets. So, again, MAGA's not too happy about it, but no, some part of MAGA is like, MAGA betrayed the Maha movement. I don't know. I saw a big uprising about this, but
yeah, it's interesting to say the least. But all right, folks, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Again, thanks to all of you who watch on the live streams, who listen via podcast, or at molibertyradio.us. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you right here next Tuesday at 6:30 on the Missouri